Welcome to a day in the Word. Today's reading is Second Chronicles chapter 31 through Second Chronicles chapter 32. Second Chronicles chapter 31. When the Passover celebration was finished, the Israelites who were in Jerusalem for Passover went out to the towns of Judah. Then they smashed the stone idols that were in the towns. These stone idols were used to worship false gods. They also cut down the Asherah poles, and they destroyed the high places and the altars all through the areas of Judah and Benjamin. They did the same things in the area of Ephraim and Manasseh. They did these things until they destroyed all the things used for worshiping the false gods. Then all the Israelites went back home to their own towns. The priests and Levites had been divided into groups, and each group had its own special job to do. So King Hezekiah told these groups to begin doing their jobs again. So the priests and Levites again had the job of offering the burnt offerings and the fellowship offerings. And they had the job of serving in the temple and singing and praising God by the doors to the Lord's house. Hezekiah gave some of his own animals to be offered as the burnt offerings. These animals were used for the daily burnt offerings that were given each morning and each evening. They were offered on the Sabbath days, during new moon celebrations, and on the other special meeting days, as the law of the Lord commands. The people were surprised to give a part The people were supposed to give a part of their crops and things to the priests and Levites. So Hezekiah commanded the people living in Jerusalem to give them their share. In that way, the priests and Levites could spend all of their time doing what the law of the Lord told them to do. People all around the country heard about this command, so the Israelites gave the first part of their harvest of grain, grapes, oil, honey, and all the things they grew in their fields. They brought 1/10 of all these many things. The men of Israel and Judah living in the towns of Judah also brought 1/10 of their cattle and sheep. They also brought 1/10 of the things that were put in a special place that was only for the Lord their God. They brought all these things and put them in piles. The people began to bring these things in the third month, and they finished bringing the collection in the seventh month. When Hezekiah and the leaders came, they saw the piles of things that were collected. They praised the Lord and his people, the Israelites. Then Hezekiah asked the priests and the Levites about the piles of things. Azariah the high priest from Zadok's family said to Hezekiah, "From the time that the people started bringing the offerings into the Lord's house, we have had plenty to eat. We have eaten until we are full, and there is still plenty left over. The Lord has really blessed his people. That is why we have so much left over." Then Hezekiah commanded the priests to make storerooms ready in the Lord's temple. So this was done. Then the priests brought the offerings, tithes, and other things that were to be given only to God. All these things collected were put in the storehouse in the temple. Conaniah the Levite was in charge of everything that was collected. Shimei was second in charge of these things. Shimei was Conaniah's brother. Conaniah and his brother Shimei were supervisors of these men. Jehiel, Azaziah, Nahath, Asiel, Jeremoth, Jozabad, Eliel, Ismachiah, Mahath, and Benaiah. King Hezekiah and Azariah, the official in charge of God's temple, chose these men. Kor was in charge of the offerings that the people freely gave to God. He was responsible for giving out the collections that were given to the Lord, and he was responsible for giving out the gifts that had been made holy. Kor was the gatekeeper at the east gate. His father's name was Imnah the Levite. Eden, Miniamin, Jeshua, Shemaiah, Amariah, and Shechaniah helped Kor. These men served faithfully in the towns where the priests were living. They gave the collection of things to their relatives in each group of priests. They gave the same things to the more important people and to the less important. These men also gave the collection of things to the males 3 years old and older, who had their names in the Levite family histories. All these males were to enter the Lord's temple for daily service, to do the things that were responsible to do the things they were responsible to do. Each group of Levites had their own responsibility. The priests were given their part of the collection. This was done by families, in the way they were listed in the family histories. The Levites who were 20 years old and older were given their part of the collection according to their groups and responsibilities. The Levites, babies, wives, sons, and daughters also got part of the collection. This was done for all the Levites who were listed in the family histories. This was because the Levites were faithful to always keep themselves holy and ready for service. Some of Aaron's descendants, the priests, lived in the towns or on farms near the towns where the Levites were living. Men were chosen by name in each of these towns to give part of the collection to these descendants of Aaron. All the males and those named in the family histories of the Levites got part of the collection. So King Hezekiah did those good things in all Judah. He did what was good and right and faithful before the Lord his God. He had success in every work he began, the service of God's temple, and in obeying the law and commands, and in following his God. Hezekiah did all these things with all his heart. Second Chronicles chapter 32. After Hezekiah had faithfully done everything the Lord commanded, King Sennacherib of Assyria came to attack the country of Judah. Sennacherib and his army camped outside the fortresses. He did this so that he could make plans to defeat these towns. Sennacherib wanted to win them for himself. Hezekiah knew that Sennacherib came to Jerusalem to attack it. Then Hezekiah talked to his officials and army officers. They all agreed to stop the waters of the water springs outside the city. The officials and army officers helped Hezekiah. Many people came together and stopped all the springs and the stream that flowed through the middle of the country. They said, "The king of Assyria will not find much water when he comes here." Hezekiah made Jerusalem stronger. This is how he did it. He rebuilt all the parts of the wall that were broken down. He also built towers on the wall. He also built another wall outside the first wall. He rebuilt the strong places on the east side of the old part of Jerusalem. He made many weapons and shields. Hezekiah chose officers of war to be in charge of the people. He met with these officers at the open place near the city gate. He talked to the officers and encouraged them. He said, "Be strong and brave. Don't be afraid or worry about the king of Assyria or the large army with him. There is a greater power with us than the king of Assyria has with him. The king of Assyria only has men, but we have the Lord our God with us. Our God will help us. He will fight our battles." So King Hezekiah of Judah encouraged the people and made them feel stronger. King Sennacherib of Assyria and all his army were camped near the town of Lachish so that they could defeat it. Then Sennacherib sent his officers to King Hezekiah of Judah and to all the people of Judah in Jerusalem. His officers had a message for Hezekiah and all the people in Jerusalem. They said, "King Sennacherib of Assyria says this: What do you trust in that makes you stay under attack in Jerusalem? Hezekiah is fooling you. You are being tricked into staying in Jerusalem so that you will die from hunger and thirst. Hezekiah says to you, 'The Lord our God will save us from the king of Assyria.' But Hezekiah himself took away the high places and altars that belonged to their God. He told you, people of Judah and Jerusalem, that you must worship and burn incense only on one altar. Of course, you know what my ancestors and I have done to all the peoples in other countries. The gods of the other countries could not save their people. Those gods could not stop me from destroying their people. My ancestors destroyed those countries. There is no God that can stop me from destroying his people. So you think your God can save you from me? Don't let Hezekiah fool you or trick you. Don't believe him, because no God of any nation or kingdom has ever been able to keep his people safe from me or my ancestors. Don't think your God can stop me from destroying you." The officers of the king of Assyria said worse things against the Lord God and against Hezekiah, God's servant. The king of Assyria also wrote letters that insulted the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what the king of Assyria said in those letters: "The gods of the other nations could not stop me from destroying their people. In the same way, Hezekiah's God will not be able to stop me from destroying his people." Then the Assyrian officers shouted loudly to the people of Jerusalem who were on the city wall. They spoke in the language of Judah, so that the people on the wall could understand and be frightened enough that the Assyrians could capture the city of Jerusalem. Then they insulted the God of Jerusalem just as they had insulted all the gods of the people from other nations, even though those gods are only things people made with their hands. Hezekiah the king and the prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, prayed about this problem. They prayed very loudly to heaven. Then the Lord sent an angel to the king of Assyria's camp. That angel killed all the soldiers, leaders, and officers in the Assyrian army. So the king of Assyria went back home to his own country, and his people were ashamed of him. He went into the temple of his God, and some of his own sons killed him there with the sword. So the Lord saved Hezekiah and the people in Jerusalem from King Sennacherib of Assyria and from all other people. He cared for Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem. Many people brought gifts for the Lord to Jerusalem. They brought valuable things to King Hezekiah of Judah. From that time on, all the nations respected Hezekiah. It was in those days that Hezekiah became very sick and near death. He prayed to the Lord, and he spoke to Hezekiah and gave him a sign. But Hezekiah's heart was proud, so he did not give God thanks for his kindness. This is why God was angry with Hezekiah and with the people of Judah and Jerusalem. But Hezekiah and the people living in Jerusalem changed their hearts and lives. They became humble and stopped being proud. So the Lord's anger didn't come on them while Hezekiah was alive. Hezekiah had many riches and much honor. He made places to keep silver, gold, valuable jewels, spices, shields, and all kinds of things. Hezekiah had storage buildings for the grain, new wine, and oil that people sent to him. He had stalls for all the cattle and stalls for the sheep. Hezekiah also built many towns, and he got many flocks of sheep and cattle. God gave him much wealth. It was Hezekiah who stopped up the upper source of the waters of the Gihon spring in Jerusalem and made the waters flow straight down on the west side of the city of David. And he was successful in everything he did. One time, the leaders of Babylon sent messengers to Hezekiah. The messengers asked about a strange sign that had happened in the nations. When they came, God left Hezekiah alone to test him and to know everything that was in Hezekiah's heart. Everything else Hezekiah did as king and the ways he served God faithfully are written in the book, the vision of the prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, and in the book, the history of the kings of Judah and Israel. Hezekiah died and was buried with his ancestors. The people buried him on the hill where the graves of David's ancestors are. All the people of Judah and those living in Jerusalem gave honor to Hezekiah when he died. Hezekiah's son Manasseh became the new king in his place. Thank you for joining the Day in the Word Bible in a Year series. Please subscribe, like, comment, and don't forget to turn on that notification bell. Until next time, Shalom.